passion, and that's music. He graduated from the New England Conservative Music, but felt that he was not equal to the concert field. It was highly competitive, and he really felt he was not quite of that timber. He was born and raised in poverty, extreme poverty. He was an orphan when he was simply a little child, a little baby. Well, he came west, got a job. When he came to my meetings, after about 2 years, I met him. I rather liked him. And I asked him if he would like to do what I am doing. And he said, yes, I would, but I'm not qualified. I said, you've only answered correctly. If you felt you were qualified, you'll be no earthly good. Today, I would say I am not qualified. If you ask me for my intellectual background, I couldn't qualify. Ask me for any background, and I couldn't qualify. I once met Damrosch in New York City at the Bohemian Club. At the Harvard Club, they met once a month. And when I was introduced to him by this most outgoing person, he asked me what was my background. Was it Germanic as far as my teaching? Was it Germanic? Was it French? Was it English? And I said, no, it all came by revelation. And the old man turned his back on me as though he was talking to the scum of the earth. Here was a social gathering. He judged you by your background based upon, were you trained in the Germanic school, the French school, the English school? And he named it. Well, I could not have answered in the affirmative to his questions, so that he turned his back. So I said to Freedom, you do not need any background. You trust me. I like you. I think you're honest, and you will not deceive anyone. You'll go north and you will teach. So he went north, and he's been teaching successfully. He bought himself a home in Cambria, as I say, midway between here and San Francisco. It's a modest home, but at least it's his home. It's all clear. But there's one consuming passion that he has. It's music. He loves music. And he had this lovely grand piano. But something was needed. He had to have it not repaired, but something must be done. And there was a modest charge of $400 to do to it what he thought should be done. But they could only do it if he sent it back to the factory. It was sent to the factory. They would not ship it to him unless he first came down and tested it and tried it out. That everything ought to be just right as he thought it to be right. So he came down, played on it, and he loved it. Then they gave him a date of delivery. So he waited home, and there was no piano. The next day, no piano. Then he called them. They said, well, we were waiting for a full load. But now there is a full load, and so you will get your piano. Wednesday of last week. Not this week, Wednesday of last week. He waited in all day, and there was no piano. So when he called, they said, strangely enough, our driver and the truck and its contents have disappeared, and we cannot locate him, or locate the truck or the contents. The next day when he called, no trace of the driver. So in desperation, he called me. He said, I know, I teach this law, but Neville, every penny that I have is really locked up in my piano. I have my home, but I have no income at the moment, and my one outgoing thing is simply to play. And it's only insured for $2,000, and I could not replace it for $4,000. But long before I could get the $2,000, if ever, here I am strapped, and I'm calling you to help. You're the only one to whom I can turn. So thank you for the confidence. And then that was it. Before I hung up, or right after I hung up, I heard him play that piano. I could put my hands upon his shoulder, and I could feel freedom. I could feel the piano, and I heard this lovely music. Then that night, I turn on, as I quite often do if I'm up. Between 8 and 10, there's a lovely program that comes on KFAC. And it's usually piano music, but it was lovely music all through the day, 24 hours a day. So any time of the day I can turn that on, which is really turned on all the time anyway. And I heard this glorious concerto, and I imagined Freedom was playing it. And I simply put my hands upon him and thanked him for the joy he gave me in the playing of this concerto. And then I could feel the piano. Yesterday morning, at 11 o'clock, he called. I was not available, but my wife answered. He said, I would have called you at 4:30 this morning when the piano was delivered. But I thought it unwise to disturb you at that hour in the morning at 4:30. But now I'm going to call you because you must be up. He said, I'm going to give you all the details eventually. I can't do it now over the phone. The strange thing. He did say this much. The driver was arrested in San Luis Obispo. He refused to give anything concerning the whereabouts of the truck and its contents. Only the past week I read in the paper that our banks lose from men who hold up the banks, maybe $7-8 million a year. But the embezzlement that goes on within the banks from trusted employees runs into tens of millions. And then this enormous hundreds of millions between our ports, airports, and, warehouses in lost cargo, all stolen. A man takes off and everything disappears, the truck and its contents. And it runs into hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars a year. But I don't care what I read in the paper. I am remaining faithful to principle. There is one infallible statement concerning the unforgivable sin. The unforgivable sin in the Bible is the sin against the Holy Spirit. Every sin in the world is forgiven, but the sin against the Holy Spirit. What is that unforgivable sin? Doubt. He who created the universe and sustains it, and you doubt his power to do anything in this world? That is the one unforgivable sin. From having reached the end of God's plan for all of us, I will not doubt.